This way.
Well, no.
Go ahead.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. You join me in the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. We have two speakers tonight. We're going to get started with those. Chris Baker from Delaware Foundation. Go to the podium, please, if it's ready. Yes, up there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for the invitation, Trustee Trainer in particular, for allowing me to come join you this evening. One of the things we talked a little bit about was sharing some ways in which our community partners with the Delaware County Foundation and with trustees and other government entities to get stuff done in the community. So I thought I'd share maybe a few things that we have partnered on in the past with other townships, cities, and the like, and then I'd love to answer any questions that you may have. When you think about a foundation, really we are built to be that one-stop connector around philanthropy in a community, and we do everything from connecting individuals that have an interest in taking care of individual charities. We also create endowments, which are permanent funds that are invested to meet a charitable purpose in the community. So we do a little bit of all of those things. And one of the ways that we regularly partner is with some of our government entities. So I want to share with you just a few ways. One of those actually I think is a great success story and probably one of our oldest ones on record. So if you've ever been in the Brown Township Hall, that was actually funded nearly entirely through philanthropy that was directed through the Delaware County Foundation. It turns out in my 25 years of doing this that people can give directly to government entities, but that almost never happens. And that wasn't the case, there, either. Another great example I think of working in partnership would be with Orange Township. If you've driven, down Old State, road, you probably have looked by their fire station, there, and noticed the Veterans Memorial that exists. It was dedicated this past summer. That actually was the brainchild of some Orange Township, folks, and a middle school class that raised funds for over a decade. And unfortunately, the project really never got anywhere until they partnered with the foundation, and we were able to bring some other folks to the table. There was a fairly large state appropriation that they were able to leverage, but it still required matching gift support. So once we created that fund, in total, I think we were able to direct about $250,000 towards that project. So that was where we started, and that was pretty successful. And the people that funded it, they also found some great benefit to making sure that we were planning for that memorial's future. So we've now created a fund to endow the future maintenance of that, property. So the city will continue to mow, the township will continue to mow the grass and things like that. But if there's ever a damage to any of the marble or a flagpole that needs to be replaced, there's a fund now that exists permanently to be able to meet that particular need. So it's not a drag on, the township itself. More importantly, it also gives people a great way to invest in a project in their community. And that's really what we've seen there. So across the board, whether it's funding memorials or township halls, we do any number of projects. It's really directed at what the partnership really wants to do. The city of Delaware, for instance, has a community fund where they raise between $15,000 and $30,000 annually for their fireworks display, and that's funded entirely through the community. So what I see are the key benefits to kind of partnering with the foundation are we already have an active number of individuals that are in Delaware County. They care about projects in their, their backyard, and they're primed to support those. So it makes, us to supporting projects very easily when you bring them along. So that would be one way. The other is really kind of the ease as well too. Getting back to what I mentioned before, like people can direct a gift to a township, directly, but that's also not an entirely clear path that people understand, and it also adds some compliance. My understanding is, let's say you got 100 people that each gave you, $10 because they wanted to support building a playground. Well, you would need to have to accept each of those on record at one of your meetings, versus partnering with the foundation, because we're a 501c3 charitable organization. Those dollars just come directly to us. And when you need those dollars to, build that, playground, you're simply just directing its use, and we write a check right back to the township to do that. So those are just a few examples of ways that we've partnered on projects. I mean, I've done everything from ARPA dollars that were directed to Ostrander 24 hours before they had to be expended, to some other things. So I like to think that we're a pretty nimble partner that exists in the community, really to meet your needs and the needs of your residents. So let me pause there and just ask if there's any questions.
Is the donor, is there a possibility they can put certain stipulations on, like they maybe if it's a township facility, they could use it one day a year for a reunion or something like that?
Not technically, right? The path to that isn't entirely clear, because what is happening in the case of all these funds that we create, in a sense, there's no legal entity that it exists. It's simply a fund at the foundation that is restricted for, let's call it the Harlem Township Fund, things that you as a township would direct. It's however we set the fund up. And the main difference, with that is, what you really don't want to get into is, I want my gift to go to pencils. I want my gift to go to, paint. I want mine to go to, a new, something at the fire department, or oxygen tank, or what have you. That becomes a little bit more of a challenge, to manage. So the IRS actually says that donors cannot place a material restriction on a gift. But if that were the case, if somebody came to us and said, hey, we'd like to build a new township hall or put a new roof on, maybe we would have that conversation around restricting it. But generally, we try to keep them fairly, open in terms of purpose. If that makes sense.
You couldn't separate them for different departments then. Like if somebody wanted to only donate to the parks, and then somebody else wanted to donate to the township in general. So you wouldn't keep those separate.
Well, to that, we can create, separate funds to do exactly that. So I think Orange would be a good example of that. So we have a fund for a bike path, right, that they're hoping to raise, funds around. We also have the endowment to benefit the Veterans Memorial, and we still have the Orange Township Community Fund, which is a kind of a bucket for anything that's not allocated. So in those cases, it's 3 funds rather than trying to do that accounting in a single fund is what we try to bifurcate. But in general, if there is a large specific purpose that you would have a need around, so for instance, Ostrander was looking at redeveloping a site that they own to put a playground, and that has a very specific purpose that we can rally support around. We created a fund specifically for that. We also had a separate one that was just for anybody to contribute to, that wasn't necessarily earmarked. So yes, thanks for seeking that clarification. Yeah.
So if you have what would be, in my thoughts, like a slush fund for the township, who makes the specifics of where that money's going to go if it is going into a Harlem Township?
Right. That's up to you to, to direct. So how a fund works is, the person that sets it up creates the rules around how they want those things to be distributed. So funds could be very narrow in scope, a specific project, or it could be fairly general. And with that, we also, cite in there who's the decision maker on it. Generally, we like to name positions, not people, because people change, as we all know, right? But positions make it really easy. So maybe a staff person gets swapped out for another staff person. It's really easy for us to kind of tackle it that way. But essentially, you're in the driver's seat around, how you create the fund and its purpose.
A number of years ago, I think we had somebody give a presentation from the foundation, and could you enlighten us a little bit on fee structure?
Sure. So being a nonprofit, we have expenses, as well too. So we do charge a fee on, each account. In the case of most of our municipal, funds, they've been fairly, small. Most of them haven't gone to be massive. So we have a minimum fee of $250 annually, or a percentage of assets, whichever is greater. So it's 1% of assets or $250 on that.
Lisa, do you know anything about the fee schedule on the Columbus Foundation?
We're not gonna mess with that.
No,
Are you
no,
talking-
I'm not. I'm just in comparison.
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't even see, we have one out of Columbus Foundation. The gentleman left some money to the township for maintenance of a cemetery.
Sure.
And
All we do is get a check, Dave.
I know, I didn't know if there was any paperwork.
Truthfully, we're all in the same, ballpark. Really it's a matter of, who you're picking to be your partner. I think the key differentiator is, I'll acknowledge the Columbus Foundation is many orders of magnitude larger, than us, but we're the local partner. And I think one of the ways that maybe they would acknowledge, we have some advantages, we know the people that are, here, we're partnering with, many of them, already. So I think of it more in terms of like anybody can do the money management piece of it. That's not really a huge differentiator in my mind. It really kind of comes down to who's, your partner in your backyard that can, show up at a meeting and take care of things if you got a question.
Well, I don't think we get charged the fee. I think.
Oh, you
it
absolutely-
up in the will
Yeah,
for us to receive those funds.
okay.
If it's an endowment, you're absolutely getting charged a fee. Nobody
Well,
pays
we're
fair.
not.
They
They probably are.
You are. It's
It's
net of fees in that. So it's not passed along. That's essentially how that works.
Right.
Same thing's true of us with an endowment as well. So our administrative fees within within an endowment, meaning it's a permanent fund, those are very low, and they're basically just paid for out of the assets of the fund. What I'm describing to you are funds where maybe somebody drops $250,000 in it one day, and then we spend it out 2 weeks later, right? So it's more like a pass-through type position. In that case, we don't have $250,000 that's sitting there for eternity to generate revenue. So our fee structure is a little different.
So this minimum of 250 or percentage of assets, is that, how do you guys become, is it a monthly fee of whatever average that we're doing? So let's say somebody donates 200,000 and the next day we take it out, do we pay the 4%?
No.
I mean, how does that?
No, it's not.
Is it
No.
once a month, whatever the average is?
So think of it like your, credit card. It's it's calculated on an average daily, balance, of it. So if you had the, let's say it was much larger, let's say it was $1 million that, that was sitting in that account for an entire year, it would be 1% of that $1 million that we collect as a quarter of that for each quarter, right?
Okay, so it's a
If that makes sense.
Now, who does the audit of your books?
Maloney and Novotny. Your
And
local.
is that public to where we could get the
Mhm.
audit?
Yep, absolutely. I
Is
mean,
it a yearly audit?
it is. Yep.
Is it on your website or do we have?
No, I think, that's a good question. I believe it's at the bottom of our website. I try to put all of the typical things that people would have a question, you know, about down there. Our 990 surely is any of our compliance documentation, such as whistleblower protection and things like that that are required under Sarbanes-Oxley and others. Those are all there. I believe our audits are as well too.
Now, do you advertise for the township? Like, do you use our name in advertising that we use you? Or if, let's say we want to collect for a project, we're like, hey, we want to do a park project.
Usually it's the other way around. So typically how that, you know, works is we can make it very easy for townships to do a, you know, a fundraising, you know, project. Like if you want to have people, you know, make a contribution for, you know, like the fireworks display or something like that, we can set up a standalone credit card processing, you know, page, you know, for you, and people can make their gifts, you know, through, you know, that. So we do that, you know, typically, but you know, generally it's more directed by the individual entity, it's, you know, itself. Yeah.
I have a question dealing, if there is a large amount of money that a person wants donated for the township, what would be the process? Would they go through a personal lawyer and come to the foundation, or would that individual go directly to the foundation? What
So,
precautions or
Right.
what
yeah.
steps are to be taken there?
Right. So oftentimes it's both. You can, you know, create a fund, and any individual can create a fund dealing with us, you know, directly. But one thing that's maybe a little different from, you know, the foundation versus your typical nonprofit, we don't get very many $250 annual fund checks. It's usually larger. We're transacting wealth. You know, it may be stock is our currency of the, you know, the realm, and we're helping, you know, people to give in the most tax advantaged way. And because that's one of our goals, we may have a conversation with somebody around initially, here's what we want to do. And I will meet with their professional advisors to map out a strategy and what makes the most, you know, sense. So it can be either or, but most of the time it's both. Very rarely do people not have somebody that they're already working, you know, with. And if that's the case, I can make recommendations, you know, as well too. But oftentimes it will start with, hey, I'm an ordinary individual who has an extraordinary interest in our, you know, community. I want to do something, you know, big. We'll have a conversation about it. And we might map out the next, you know, steps around what that, you know, looks like. And I like to, you know, I don't know. I always joke and say our foundation looks a lot different than like the Columbus Foundation because you got a redneck running it. You know, I feel very strongly that we want anybody to be able to participate with us, not just the folks that are maybe the wealthiest in the, you know, the community. So anybody can create a, you know, a fund. The reason we have a minimum fee actually is so we don't have really high capital requirements. Like the Columbus Foundation, you want to start a, not, you know, we partner with them. They do a lot of great things, but they exist in a different space. If you want to create a scholarship fund, for instance, you need to strike a check for $50,000 right then on the spot. We're built a little bit differently. We have organizations that annually fund $1,250. That's a $250 fee, which covers our administration, which is a lot around scholarships, and $1,000 you know, scholarship fund that, you know, that's given out. So we want everybody to be able to participate with us, is I guess what I'm saying. So we work really hard to, you know, to be approachable and make it as easy as we can. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Steve Eisenbrown, Harlem Road. So I could see where this could be quite useful for us. I could, you know, I'm not sure I'd call it a slush fund, but I know what you're talking about. So I mean, the $250 a year, you said, so that's $25,000 minimum. right?
No, there is no minimum. We just
No,
have
no,
a
no, no,
minimum.
no, but I mean, the 250 covers the first 25,000.
Yeah, correct,
roughly,
yes,
right?
yeah.
I can do a little math.
Yeah.
So I can see where having a general fund for the township could be useful if somebody wanted to feed in. And even if I was interested in being directed, so maybe I was interested in going to help with a playground initiative I heard about with the parks. So I could give you $1,000, it could go into the general fund. And I can come to a trustees meeting and look these three guys in the eye and say, hey, just so you know, I just put $1,000 in with the sole purpose of I want you to write a check for playground equipment, right? I mean, that's
Essentially,
between me and
yeah.
the township.
Right.
Just because it's in the general fund doesn't mean that it's now gone off to the vapor to go buy lawnmower blades.
Right.
Right? If we got something that's more like a $50,000 project, and we want to build an initiative around doing something for the township, well, that's where can see you would build a specific fund earmarked for the purpose of whatever it might be. Is it, so if I got that kind of right?
Yeah, it can be as specific or as general as you like.
As important as
Yep.
lawnmower blades are. Yeah,
Right,
okay,
right.
very good. All right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Gentlemen, you have any comments or questions?
All right.
Any other public have any? Yes,
Linda Jackson, I want to maybe clarify, I have a little bit of personal about the $1 million that was donated to Brown Township. And my question is the fact, after the project had been started and completed, after Charles Sheets passed away, who was the person that donated, he and his wife, the family, and Charles Sheets was deceased, the family was turned down for the Sheetses to have a once-a-year family reunion to that, and it had to be settled by the daughter, who was not involved in the initial planning of that.
Right.
So
Actually, Margie and I went and did that, and I think I think maybe it was a little bit of a misunderstanding, right? The township was saying, hey, listen, we have a uniform, thing in place. We want to be fair to, to everybody. The family was maybe thinking, well, hey, we gave you $1.1 million. Maybe you should cut us a break. So we had a conversation, and I think they agreed that actually that made the most sense, that they could have a once a year, rental, of it. So while that wasn't formalized initially, that was something that we were able to, to kind of work out with the trustees, later. I was not around when that gift was made. There was no documentation for it, but I felt it was really the best thing. Those trustees did as well, too. So it was really just kind of a matter of lining things up. I feel that it worked out, well in the end.
thank
I mean,
you. I wasn't
yeah.
trying to put you on the spot because I knew that it was the
Right.
person that.
Right. So maybe if it were me, I would have maybe said, hey, if you ever thinking that you want to have something like this, let's get it, written down. That actually didn't happen at the time. I mean, I don't think anybody foresaw, a disconnect with it, but it was pretty easily, remediated.
Thank you.
okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Yep. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren Robinson with the Health District. I just have a number of announcements to share with you all. Mostly that we'll be bringing our mobile health unit out here, actually in this parking lot, twice in the spring. One on April 14th in the afternoon and May 12th in the afternoon to do some health screenings, immunizations, and offer walk-in WIC appointments. So I do have some of that information on your community wall back there. If you guys can stop by and see us, we'll also be in Sunbury those days too. And then a couple other things just to share that we put together for the community. Some places where Delaware residents can get rid of electronics and like televisions, microwaves, cables, and other household hazardous waste, like paint, fire extinguishers, things like that to safely dispose of them. And then finally, we have a community shred day that will be at our building on May 3rd in the morning, where you can get rid of up to 6 boxes, bigger size boxes of shred items. Any questions for me? Thank you.
When were the dates of those?
The shred day is May 3rd. The spring tour where we'll have our mobile clinic in this parking lot is April 14th. So Monday from 1:30 to 3:30, and May 12th, which is also a Monday from 1:30 to 3:30.
When was the electronic waste disposal?
It's just information about places that you can go to do that. It's not a specific date, so a continuous resource. Any other question? Okay, and they're out there if you need to grab any of those flyers.
Flyers will be out there, and also at the bottom of our website under news and updates, there's a link for everything she was talking about.
Okay, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, we have 3 hearings to set the dates for. First one is resolution 25-0319T001. This is on the application, HTZ 25-01 Maple Leaf Rental LLC. It is to rezone. It didn't say what. Anyway, the date will be April 16th at 7:15. I would move that we receive this application.
Second.
5767 King Road, Worcester, minutes for 51.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The second one is receives application to amend 35.3. We would set that hearing for April 16th at 7:30. Make a motion for that.
So moved. Second.
Second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Third one is the application HTZ 25-03 for adding the CLRC overlay. And I don't know, we don't have a time. Oh, yeah, 7:30. You want, that probably should be 7:45, right? Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. So we got 3 hearings for next month. Physical office.
The February bank reconcile you guys signed. You got year-to-date appropriation ledger status and cash summary report. Certify the amounts were available to pay said bills and the payment listing report, starting with warrant number 13851 through warrant 13874. Voucher number 40-2025, voucher -49-2025, and amount of $93,723.37.
Motion
to approve warrants and vouchers.
second. Moving second, and all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
So the property insurance policy, Chief O'Brien had put in these questions into an email back to all of us. And I did not see responses, and I wasn't sure if you guys had discussed this with him or not, if.
Well, the property needs to be added. There's 16 SBAs and the 32 bottles. We don't, to my knowledge, we don't have a deep well pump. So that shouldn't be any coverage for that unless that's just part of the package that policy we have. And special marine property. I know insurance companies use that as a terminology, even mine does, and that is a catch-all for I don't know what. So did you, didn't come to a conclusion either? So I guess that needs to be discussed with our contact at the insurance company. Probably adding the bottles is the biggest in the SBA's are the biggest expenditure here. The rest is just, in the past, had there been a bond? I don't think there had for, because he doesn't receive money, so there shouldn't be a bond. So I think that's pretty easy. We can double check that question with the insurance carrier. So that all being said, do we want to go ahead with the resolution to follow to renew and to make me a signer?
Yeah, I can ask about some of these questions,
Mhm.
prior to that.
In part, and if there's
before we
no,
Send the policy back to them, in
right,
case we need to make changes.
right. Okay, it's fine. But I
You
want
guys
to make,
just want to approve it and then.
yes,
Then there may be changes,
So
a
correct.
few changes.
I'll move to approve the 2025 updated property insurance policy changes after we do some diligence with the insurance company and return it to them. Trustee Jackson to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
Second.
Motion been moved and seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
So I want to give an update for me to attend the 2025 local government official conference next Thursday and Friday. The correct cost is $250 for the 2-day conference plus parking and meals. And you guys had done up to $650. I just wanted to clarify it was only
Okay,
$250.
that's fine.
Just let you guys.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen, we're up to the TIF discussion and signing possibly of the Northeast area TIF. We had sent letters out in January. John, I think you delivered them.
Did.
Thank you for that. Feel comfortable enough, we can go ahead and continue this?
I do. Yeah.
But I would, we don't have a resolution on here, but I would think we need to do that. And should it, I'm not clear on this because we're dealing with Big Walnut, we're dealing with Johnstown, Monroe, because it's on the county line. If there should be, we have separate documents, but where there should be separate resolutions.
For that.
Yeah, so the first resolution would be that we sign the TIF for the Northeast area that involves the Big Walnut Board of Education. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been moved and seconded. Have a roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Second resolution would approve and sign the TIF that names Johnstown Monroe School District in the Northeast area. Have a second?
Second.
All those, do another roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Trainer.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We'll sign that here after we. Later on in the meeting, we'll do some cleanup work here on signing. Okay, next discussion is a Great American Cleanup for Harlem Township. Valerie's indicated that the civics interested in carrying on like they usually do, distribute the bags and so forth. And we'll try to keep track of pickup points. It will be the weekend, April 26th and 27th. And Ashley, did you send the voucher back to Health Department?
No, Jason and I were talking about it and we weren't sure how you wanted that filled out because neither one of us have done it. And it's not due until next week.
Okay, I'll take a look at it with you. And Valerie, you said you were going to contact about the bags and the pickup grabbers. Okay. So anyway, that's the date if anybody's interested in volunteering for a segment of their roadway, the 26th and 27th of April. Regional development update, what Columbus annexation and 988 acres of Blendon Township mean for Harlem Township. John, would you like to
Yes.
jump into that?
So I'm going to take a few minutes to
share with our residents the work that's been done over the course of the last several months to secure the future of the township. This is a presentation that I put together. I shared with both Adam and Dave and got their consent. It was a non-response consent to share these thoughts with you this evening. So first of all, I think is how to identify the problem that we're working on as a township. And for me, I frame that problem in the form of a question. Can Harlem Township have a significant role in determining its own future? And that's really what we've been wrestling with. For decades, we were able to exist to the east of the reservoir in the southeast corner of Delaware County in a rather insular, compartmentalized way. I think we enjoyed having that luxury. And I've realized in the last several years that we could no longer afford that luxury as the world around us was changing. To that end, we did work on a comprehensive plan that is very thorough in helping us craft the way we'd love to see the township developed and the kind of zoning that we'd like to have. We were able to employ crossroads in developing zoning overlays that add kind of a layered defense, as it were, to the township to protect us in many ways. And after we'd finished the comprehensive plan and the zoning overlays, and in fact, almost immediately afterward, the Intel announcement came down the pike. And that initially rocked our world. It rocked everybody's world, particularly Jersey Township and the city of Johnstown and surrounding environs. And it caused us to begin to sprint a little bit harder to secure our future. And the Strategic Planning Committee was formed. The Quick Strategy Guide was drafted as an addendum to our comprehensive plan. And we, I think, continue to articulate the values that we have as a township. During that time frame, the opportunity presented itself to consider merging with the community of Westerville. And so the township explored that possibility. We don't have to attach a value, I think, to whether that was a good idea or not today. It's certainly a concept that should be a part of, is this a potential future for Harlem Township? And just like every other potentiality, you look at the benefits and the risks at every point in time along the path, and you try to make a wise decision about whether that's good or not. And for a number of reasons, at that point in time, it turned out not to be the best decision for Harlem Township. And there were, I look back and I kind of identify process issues that caused that conversation to break down. I actually came back to the township after 5 years on active duty in April of 24, so almost exactly 1 year ago today, and came back to a township that was really wrestling with kind of fear of the unknown. If this is going to happen to our east, what's going to happen to us? And so began to think hard about the problem. How do we preserve Harlem Township? Infrastructure development has been occurring. The Columbus trunk line, right now we think will be completed in July of 26. Delaware has picked a planner for their first run of that line. They're looking at concepts that they expect to run in 27 and 28 in our southwest corner, where we anticipate that development will first begin. We are currently, through Adam's leadership, in conversation with the community of Galena to secure our northwest corner. That is to craft a JET agreement with them that includes non-annexation, but provide sewer service to that northwest corner, which we think is in both of our communities' best interests. And then, just as you've seen tonight, we began to contemplate what economic tools are there out there that help us create good relationships with our neighbors, but also help us think about how to economically provide for and secure our future. And so that's why you saw a TIF pass this evening. So that's kind of where we've been. And the question is, where do we want to go? And so a strategic planning process. In some respects, I think that what we've done to this point has built a foundation and a defensive wall. I believe that what needs to occur, and what I've kind of preached for the last several months, is a process that is more aspirational in nature. That we are casting a vision for where we think Harlem Township should be in the year 2050. As I said to the residents a month or so ago, if you were to parachute into Center Village in 2050, what do you want to see? And one of the things that I want to see is Harlem Township, or better yet, the village of Harlem, that it's still in existence, that we are still an entity. And so these 7 bullet points represent the work of about 120 of our residents a few weeks ago to identify our strategic priorities. And we wanted the residents to communicate to the trustees what those priorities are, as opposed to the trustees dictating to the residents what those priorities are. And so these are the results of a few hours of conversation, working in small groups, and identifying these essentials. You'll notice that I've bold marked a couple of those because they have, I think, been guiding principles over the last few months. And that is autonomy. That in every conversation that we engage with surrounding communities, our first strategic priority is to maintain our autonomy. And when I say autonomy, I mean our geographical integrity and our cultural identity. Those are 2 landmarks that if we parachute into 2050, that's what we see. And then secondly, that we not remain insular and removed from our world, but that we engage our world at large. And so a real attempt to get to know all of our neighbors, whether they're in cities or villages or municipalities, whether they are part of the private community, that is developers, folks who would have a vested interest in our economic vitality, or government entities. Because ultimately, as this township develops, it will be a partnership between the public and the private. Neither entity can do that on their own. And then notice that I put out to the side that this is not something that is punctiliar. In other words, we don't do a strategic planning process and pack it away and put it up on a shelf and say, well, we did that. This is something that we engage in continuously. It becomes a part of our DNA, who we are as a township. We are always in the process of planning strategically. It's just a part of who we are. And we're always in the process of building redemptive strategic relationships with our neighbors. And so this becomes part of our DNA as a township. And so over the last few months, these are a few comments that attempt to capture what I view as the strategic landscape around us, the tectonic plates that are moving and that, for good or ill, determine, to some extent, have an impact on our future. That we cannot do this in a vacuum. We have to be working with our neighbors. And so we engaged the city of Westerville. Both Adam and I last fall went over and talked to leadership in Westerville, and they expressed their desire to grow eastward. If I was in the city of Westerville, I would have that desire intensely because this is the only way they can grow. And so for them to think about their economic future, it's very natural for them to look eastward across Hoover Reservoir. And so for them to have a conversation with our leadership about merger makes all the sense in the world. And I don't think that we should be surprised at that, nor necessarily threatened. We should just be aware that Westerville's future, in some ways, from their perspective, is tied into Harlem Township. The question is, are their priorities our priorities? And so when I engage the leadership, a question I ask them is, could you please articulate for me the strategic priorities of Harlem Township? And that's the response I got. Silence. Because they were not able to articulate the strategic priorities. I asked them, do you think that it's a cultural collision to consider a relationship between the city of Westerville and Harlem Township? And again, it was kind of a deer in the headlights. No, we don't see a difference. And yet I know that there are many residents that have moved here from there because there's a difference in the cultures. It's not saying that those cultures could never merge. It's that if you're going to merge, you better do so with your eyes wide open and have an intelligent conversation about that process. And so I can summarize my conversation with Westerville. This is John Trainer speaking personally. I'll let Adam speak for himself, but it was Columbus is bad, you are powerless, and we want to be your new best friend forever. Okay. New Albany. Have talked a couple of times with the leadership in New Albany, and New Albany is not interested in annexation to their north. They are very content with their current boundaries. You see that they are growing eastward. They've moved from a community that's 30% commercial, industrial, 60% residential, to a community that's headed to 30% residential, 60% commercial, industrial. And so they're changing in their landscape, which doesn't mean they're that interested in moving into a residential kind of community. Their school is where they want their school to be. And they're not keenly interested in growing their schools at the current time. They are keenly interested in Harlem Township doing a good job in planning. They want to see a community here that is a good neighbor. I articulated to Joe Stefanoff, I would like to see someday people in New Albany driving up to Harlem Village because there's such a quality experience in Harlem Village, whether that's coming out to eat or walking through our walkable community, that they're like, hey, let's go up to Harlem Village this weekend and spend a Friday night. Because that's the kind of community that we've built and the kind of relationship that we have with our neighbors just to our south. They are willing to help us with planning. When we look at New Albany, clearly they've done a good job with planning, and we may have various opinions about Georgian architecture, et cetera. But Joe said there are 20 or so key mixtures, bullet points that helped us become who we are over the last 25 or 30 years that are really intangible kind of principles that can be communicated to a Harlem Township. And those are the kind of things I want to see that list. What are the principles that would help us plan well and retain our culture and character over time? And I think there's a wealth of experience to be drawn from the community of New Albany. Galena right now, and I'll let Adam speak to that, they have a desire to extend their services into the northwest corner. It provides an economic opportunity to them if they tap into our township. and with a promise of no annexation. And so it's important to have a good relationship with Galena. Sunbury, we are very aware that Sunbury has annexed into Trenton Township. That came as a surprise to Trenton Township. I have had lunch with the mayor of Sunbury. Their decision to do that is based solely for economic reasons. He doesn't want to raise taxes on his residents, and so they're looking for other revenue sources. New Albany Company helped them in that project. And so New Albany Company purchased the land, and Sunbury competed at a national level for that entity to come into what's now their city, to provide for that economic base with relatively minimal impact on the schools, 50 employees or so. And so there are benefits and risks to that kind of an endeavor, but you understand why he's doing that. I'm not aware at this point in time of an appetite to come across 37 into Harlem Township. Johnstown, of course, is challenged by the Intel project and future commercial and industrial partners that are coming into their city. They have economic challenges at the current time that really has them focused on their own growth and development. Columbus. Last October, Joe Simonella, who is a developer, said to me, you really need to consider having a relationship with the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Because they have the most ability to impact your future, whether you like it or not. And so and this is the private-public partnership that can occur, arranged for a meeting with the director of development in the city of Columbus. And so we went and met with the director and the deputy director and a couple of their planners in October, just as an initial, hey, here's a township you've never heard of before. What are your strategic priorities when you engage townships? And so Director Stevenson said, my number one strategic priority when I talk to a township is annexation. I said, thank you for your honesty. He said, however, you should know that the current administration, Mayor Ginther, does not have an appetite for annexation at the current time, nor does the city have an interest necessarily in extending their services to their outer extremities. Columbus doesn't want to become Cleveland or Cincinnati that are hemmed in by their suburbs. They want the opportunity to grow. And so they are interested in these tentacles that continue to give them that opportunity to grow. His second strategic priority is housing. This is a housing that, a priority that is consistent when you talk to civic leaders across our region. The need for housing, and we'll call it workforce housing. And so that causes them to be more internally focused, and Columbus thinking growing inward and upward versus outward and external at the current time. We talked about Harlem Township. I articulated the very same set of priorities to them that I just communicated to you. And we ended the conversation there. During this time, we became aware that Westerville, realizing that merging was not a possibility, could be interested in annexation. And having a conversation with perhaps Columbus, perhaps large landowners in our township, perhaps with potential commercial partners, and looking at the township as an opportunity for their economic growth, as a catalyst to annexing into the township. And so in February, we had a second meeting with the city of Columbus. And this meeting was more pointed in that we were trying to gauge again the appetite for annexation. What does workforce housing mean? What does it mean you want to get to Licking County? How can we work with Delaware County to provide sewer services, not just to the southern tier of our township, but perhaps to the entire township? And could we potentially craft a joint economic development district with the city of Columbus? And would you include a non-annexation clause in that agreement? And we had a serious conversation around all of those factoids.
John,
Yes.
not to, pardon the interjection, I just
No,
think
it's
it's
good.
probably pertinent to include when you're speaking on Columbus and you use the word "we."
Yeah.
It is not a reference to the board. You were the only trustee in
That's
this
right.
meeting.
That's right. Thanks.
Sure.
But I represented you.
Not without our, yeah,
Yes.
the meetings were not without our knowledge, but you were the
That's
only one
right.
present, meaning there was not a quorum of the board
That's correct.
in those meetings.
Thanks for that
No
clarification.
problem.
They asked me point blank, are you interested in Westerville annexing any portion of your township? And I said, no, we're not interested in that. Two or 3 weeks later, Brian Clark, the deputy director, called me on a Monday before the Columbus City Council meeting. And he said, I just want you to know that tonight on the agenda, on the consent agenda, the city of Columbus will be annexing 988 acres of Blendon Township to include the reservoir dam up to Smothers Road. And that in effect blocks Westerville from coming across Hoover Reservoir. And that was done with an emergency tag on their consent agenda. And so I said, hey, thank you very much. Really appreciate the heads up. And then I came over that evening and talked to the zoning commission about that and about its implications for Harlem Township, because that in effect made it at least very difficult for the city of Westerville to annex across Hoover Reservoir. And look, I would say look aspirationally toward the township. And we can talk about that a little bit here. I think that we should be aware at the same time that there are strategic brokers at a strategic level that are having conversations about Harlem Township. And so the Intel announcement came as a surprise to entities around here. Now, not a surprise to everyone. Clearly, there were people that were having conversations and making good efforts to bring that project into Central Ohio. But no one included Harlem Township, for example, in those discussions. And so we should not be surprised if there are people at the strategic level currently thinking about Harlem Township and having conversations about our future and the potentialities that exist within our township. It's incumbent upon us to do our very best to discover if those conversations are taking place and to our ability be a part of those conversations. And to that end, we've engaged One Columbus. We've talked to, for example, Pat Teaberry at Columbus Business Roundtable. We've talked to the New Albany Company, Bill Ebbing at NACO, because these are the folks that at a strategic level are looking at the region and they're trying to solve regional problems or present regional opportunities. We want to be included to the best of our ability in these conversations. It may be, as we think about our economic future and what we want to be as what I call a premier rural residential community in the southeast corner of Delaware County, we have to have economic, commercial/industrial opportunities to support economically what we want to do in the rest of our zoning and zoning overlays. That means we have to partner with commercial and industrial partners that are appropriate to our township that are acceptable to the residents of our township. And for us to be engaged in those conversations sooner rather than later is absolutely necessary. And so we have to invest in these relationships and have these conversations at the strategic level. So so when I was talking to Bill Ebbing at the New Albany Company, one of his partners said, John, you may not want to talk about to your residents that you're having a conversation with us, because people will get the wrong idea. And I looked him in the eye and I said, no, if the residents of my community don't understand the importance of these relationships to our future and the importance of us investing in these relationships, then they've got the wrong guy. I believe these things are important, and I promise transparency as we engage. But to go to plan our future stumbling in the dark, are blindfolded and not communicating with our neighbors around us is to our great detriment. And then development will happen to us and not with us. And there will be great wailing and gnashing of teeth. So, courses of action. Notice I scratched out or be annexed by. I think that the annexation in Blendon precludes this possibility, but it doesn't mean that merger is off the table. It could be that a decade from now, it turns out maybe that's the best thing for Harlem Township to do. But I think at this point in time, a merger fails to achieve our strategic priority of autonomy, that it fails to achieve our strategic priority of engagement and collaboration. That is, instead of the city of Westerville engaging on our behalf, we want to engage as Harlem Township and hopefully the village of Harlem. And then it fails to achieve the strategic priority of a premier rural residential community known for a unique identity and quality of life, because we become just an annexation of Westerville. We have not produced our own culture and character, which is an incredible opportunity that is before us at the moment. Another course of action is for us to craft an economic partnership with the city of Columbus. The city of Columbus has agreed in word, verbally, at this point in time, that they're willing to enter into an agreement that includes a non-annexation clause. That is, that we would retain our 6x6 square mile township, 23,040 acres, and that it would retain our zoning, our overlays, that we would be able to secure our future as a township. They want to do so in collaboration with our partners. And so the next meeting that we have with the city of Columbus, which will occur on April 1st in Delaware at 9:30, will include representatives from the county of Delaware and Harlem Township to discuss the bullet points that I'll show you in a moment. Incidentally, Columbus will be meeting with Delaware and Genoa Township just before that, because their intent is to secure the rest of the reservoir. And their promise is not to annex any part of Genoa Township that the Genoa trustees do not agree to having annexed, which is a pretty remarkable statement. And then finally, balanced growth and development allows the township to retain its zoning overlays, utilize economic development tools to our benefit, and align with regional partners to plan for our future. And then a course of action that I see not as punctiliar, that is signing on a document with Columbus, but as a process that we continue as a township to engage and develop economic partnerships with surrounding municipalities. That is, that we not only should have an agreement with Columbus, but that we should say, hey, to New Albany, to Johnstown, maybe back to Westerville, to Galena, how can we collaborate together economically, strategic planning wise, as we look at this entire region? Let's not do this in silos. And to that end, I had appealed to the commissioners of the county to engage in a regional strategic planning, kind of like what Licking County did with Framework, and they have agreed to do so. And Tracy Davies and Dana McDaniel and myself will be meeting in early April to talk about kind of the agenda and the participants and begin a much smaller effort than the Framework effort, but just a getting regional partners around a table talking to one another so that we can build trust and kind of break down the walls of distrust that I perceive exist in many ways. So this is, these are Columbus's talking points. So these words are not my words. These are Columbus's words as they want to communicate why they annexed that 988 acres. And so I'm not going to read that to you. You can read it. The one thing that I want, two things I'd like to mention is one, the phrase that's bold. We do not have any plans to annex in Southeast Delaware County. However, we will continue to explore opportunities to further protect the reservoir, hence Genoa. And then notice, in addition, we'll collaborate with Delaware County, Harlem Township, and other area partners to support sewer and water agreements, et cetera. Now, nothing's been signed on the dotted line yet, right? I think there's a healthy caveat to all of this. Could the Columbus City Council look at this and say, no, we're not really interested. We really want to annex Harlem Township. Yep, that could happen. Do we expect that to happen? No, I don't think there's a very good possibility of that. What's fascinating is when you talk with these community leaders, there's a healthy respect for one another and for sitting across the table and working together on projects. And there has not been any reason to this point to doubt the process that in which we're engaged. And then our talking points. So this is these are trainers' words. This is how I articulate it. Harlan Township will be engaged with the City of Columbus and Delaware County to craft an economic agreement to include a non-annexation, a JED, a green space growth corridor. That's a park. It's like the Rocky Fork, the park that's to our south. Columbus is going to annex that park to help them get across into Licking County in the near future. And there is a possibility they could go right across Franklin County. You can kind of plot pieces of property to see that occur. We'll see what happens. Infrastructure provisions and housing solutions aligned with Columbus's needs and Harlem Township's economic development plan and zoning. And so an important point to make here in talking with Jim Steelsmith and with Holly, we believe that our current zoning and overlays provide adequately for Columbus's housing needs. If our zoning grows out to its full potential, you're looking at 7,000 to 8,000 homes in our southern tier over the next decade or so. That's a lot of places to live. And there are opportunities for housing at every price point from the southern tier on up into Center Village. And so we believe that we're on solid ground to engage the City of Columbus in that regard. It also enables the township to accomplish our strategic priority of autonomy and to build a sustainable economic plan focused on providing local and regional solutions to Southeast Delaware County and beyond. And so part of the conversation is not just focused on ourselves, but how do we as a township help the region deal with issues that are in the region? Well, housing is an issue. Power is an issue. Water is an issue. Is there potential for Harlem Township to help meet those kind of regional issues and provide solutions? And then finally, and I think this is important for me, this makes it more likely the village of Harlem will exist in 2050. It seems where a year ago this seemed an unlikelihood, it seems that we could be at a place where it could actually be realized. And so we shall see as the weeks unfold here and we begin these conversations. But that's where we are at this point in time. And so having said that, I should first ask Adam and Dave if they want to highlight or make comments on. And then open it up for questions.
I'm always skeptical when about, Columbus saying no annexation agreement. So, I mean, hope that'd be great, but I mean, sometimes there's not a free lunch, so we'll see how that would develop in conversation.
Yes.
Adam?
No, I don't know that I have anything to add. I know that the Blendon annexation has definitely been a hot topic amongst the internets here lately, so I'm sure there might be some questions.
Well, for years, the township had always heard that the Metro Parks corridor was going to be a pathway for Columbus to get east. So that's coming into
Well, I think the important part,
play.
I think the important part to make sure is super clear is that if we talk about Rocky Fork, if we talk about the southern half of Hoover Reservoir, this is property that the city of Columbus owns
Yes.
already.
Yes.
So, in the way that I've explained it to some that asked me the question is imagine city of Columbus as two separate entities, a property owner and the government. The property owner essentially just annexed it to the government, right? So I think a lot of people get questions and get nervous because they hear Columbus, this, that, and the other thing, and annexation, but Columbus already owned that property. The only difference is it's now belongs to the city of Columbus rather than the townships in which it were. So
they control that pretty strictly, the boundaries of the reservoir. There's certain buffer strip that property owners have frontage lots on that. They can't intrude on that. It's strict. So I'm surprised. I heard about Westerville, trying to get to us annexation wise, and I'm thinking, well, how could they do that? And somebody said the Metro Parks land, and I thought, well, that's between that park system in Columbus, not Westerville. But apparently there was a little bit of a crack in the plaster where they thought they could get through. But this, I guess, takes care of it. But you still, if they annexed the Blendon Township portion of the reservoir, even though they owned it, why don't they go ahead and, I guess from what John said, they're going to go ahead and come farther north somewhat, right?
That's my understanding.
Okay, that makes sense. That I think would seal that off, but time will tell.
it does.
So, is there any questions? Yes.
Steve Eisenbrown, Harlem Road, Harlem Township. I've had the opportunity to hear the thoughts here from John a couple of times between the zoning commission meeting and then this past Monday night at the BZA. He walked us through some of this. And on the surface, I don't hear anything right now that wouldn't say we should learn more. I mean, that's my view.
Right.
We never got that chance on Westerville.
Right.
But so be it. And that's not sour grapes. I mean, that's just kind of what happened. So, and I would advise, and I mentioned this to John previously, I think this lays out pretty cleanly here tonight with the PowerPoint and now with the recording on Zoom, that you use that as a mechanism through publicity and getting this out in front of people in Harlem Township so they hear it right from the horse's mouth and get a chance to, see it and continue to work on the whole transparency issue. And so I know you're thinking about how to do that, but I think it lays out pretty cleanly of where you are right now. We'll have the meeting in a couple of weeks again at the church. It'll be another opportunity to further lay that out. And so, it's more than trust but verify with Columbus. But I mean, hey, we got to try these things. I fully believe that. And the one thing that sticks in my craw a bit, and you, John, you know what I'm going to say here, is we talk about strategic things being worked on the strategic level and strategic partnerships, and we mentioned Delaware County. I've really got a problem with what I learned over the weekend from a meeting this past Wednesday with the Department of Transportation, essentially declaring intent to build a corridor through Harlem Township. I mean, if you haven't seen what was said in that meeting, I think it was frankly reckless, because I don't know who else knows about that within Delaware County. I have no idea whether the county commissioners ever heard the words that Chris Bauserman spoke the other night. It's out there on a YouTube if you're interested to see it. But essentially what he was talking about was building a highway corridor from Home Road down at 23 all the way through out the county line. And part of that would be coming right up Center Village Road. So those are the things, frankly, you talk about bigger things happening in the world and things that we can't necessarily control. But when we're supposedly having conversations with Delaware County and with Tracy Davies and whoever else and get shocked, never once has this been mentioned that I know of in any meeting that we've ever held over the last 3 or 4 years. And certainly Tracy stood here a couple of weeks ago and surely didn't level with that little tidbit. Maybe it's not as well thought out as what, we're taking it verbatim, and I think we just need to take a pause and again, not overly react. But I think you ought to try to get Chris in here at the next trustees meeting and have him explain to us what his thinking is and how far that thinking has developed. Because there won't be a Harlem Township, there won't be a Harlem Village as we know it, there won't be rural anything in this township if what he describes comes to pass. It's just outrageous what he put out there, and he did it in such a reckless manner. So I guess one thing I would say, I appeal to people in Harlem Township not to let the internet blow us out of the water on any of this stuff. Both, most importantly, what John talked about tonight. This thing needs to churn and be chewed on and looked at and see what's possible so we don't miss an opportunity. But I think the corridor thing is going to really get people juiced up. And so in both of those topic areas, the corridor area, and then more importantly, the Columbus discussion, the sooner we can get further conversation going and clarification and try to keep people calm and get the best information we've got out there on a timely basis will serve us well. From some lessons I learned a couple years ago here. So anyhow, thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
So fortuitously, providentially, we have not Chris Bauserman, but his ambassador here with us this evening, Doug Riedel, who is the representative to the townships from the county engineer's office. And maybe this would be an appropriate time, Doug, to speak to that and allow us to interrogate you.
It's certainly Doug Rito, Township Liaison for the Delaware County Engineers Office. Appreciate the opportunity to listen to the trustees and the residents regarding your vision for our home township. It's well thought out, and I know it's a tremendous amount of work for the trustees. I commend you for that. Chris, I met briefly with County Engineer Chris Bowserman today regarding the Transportation Improvement District meeting that was held last week, which is the county TID, where the comments were made about the east-west corridor, which starts obviously in Union County and goes all the way over to Licking County. And he told me that the thoroughfare plan, which was established back, in 2001, did show an east-west corridor, which included Home Road, Lewis Center, Big Walnut, and then it goes across Hoover, and then, comes down to Center Village and goes through Harlan Township. His feeling is that the concept of a highway corridor perhaps was misconstrued as far as what the intent is. Our intent, sir.
I'm listening.
Sir,
I'm listening. Thanks for being here.
Sure. And if you would like to call Chris, he would gladly speak to
I'd
you.
like Chris to come and see us.
I will extend the invitation, and I'm sure he'd be happy to be here. But again, if any of the residents would like to call Mr. Bowserman directly, they can. Our office number is 740-833-2400. He'd be happy to discuss any questions that might come up. The concept of the corridors is strictly based on the traffic studies that were developed for Intel. Obviously, there's going to be traffic increases on the east-west roads that are currently exist. Fancher Road is one. Obviously, Center Village is another. And our office's intent is to react and try and accommodate that traffic. And obviously, first thing I'm sure we're all aware of is the development of the roundabouts on County Line Road. One is at Center Village, another one down at Fancher, and then obviously the third one's at 37. So our focus has been on the intersections to try and improve those and make those safe. And then obviously the next step is to look at the actual roads that connect into those roundabouts. Center Village Road could certainly be looked at as a 2-lane road in the future. When we did look at Fancher and Center Village, we took into account the zoning that the township has established when we looked at the traffic study. So again, I'll try and answer any questions. And again, I will extend an invitation for Chris to come to an upcoming board meeting. If he's available in April, we'll try and get him here.
Any other questions, Doug? Yes.
So is this potential road and highway somewhere on a comprehensive plan that we can see?
Yes, the thoroughfare plan that was approved by the county commissioners back in 2001, there is an indication of a east-west corridor.
Where
Mhm.
can we access that?
I can provide a link to the township so they can send it out to folks, and it'll have a link to the thoroughfare plan. Rather large document. So it may take a little while to download it, but we can provide a link or the document to the township. Be happy to do that.
And as the township really engages in a comprehensive plan for its future that is more looking at the future and looking at the intersection at Center Village and envisioning, let's say, a walkable, bikeable community that grows out of that intersection over the next 25 to 50 years. I would imagine that the Delaware County's engineer's office would be working with us to realize that kind of planning with alternative ways perhaps around a potential village center.
Absolutely. That's our, that's our service, as the county engineer's office to work with our townships with all their engineering questions and future planning and so forth. Absolutely.
So, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Well, Lindsay, I didn't know you
Oh,
were done.
Lindsay?
Just to kind of reiterate what you were saying in a way that I understand a little bit better, are you saying that the Delaware County's plans supersede what the township are planning? Or are you saying that Delaware County responds to what the township is planning?
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I mean, our goal is to, to work with our townships, in their comprehensive plan and what they're planning in order to, anticipate and provide for a safe community and a roadway system that's safe as well. So, I mean, to answer your question, it could be either or the other. But again, if we're out in front of this, then there's ways to, look at, the growth of traffic and the needs of the community and see if we can come up with a solution that is, is the best for everyone.
Take care of it.
In general, it might be said that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. In general. Count-wise. So there is
Yes.
hierarchy in those decisions, so.
This, ma'am, I saw your hand.
Yes,
Hi.
I'm Darlene McCall at Center Village. I was just wondering, are you planning on doing any restudies since it was 2001? How are you incorporating any new information or things that, we didn't have much collaboration back then, so it sounds like we have a chance to work closely with you and help you with these studies, since it was done so early on, before any of this stuff was even thought of.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, it's been a while since that was adopted, and obviously the changes that have occurred, in this region here locally over the last few years has been significant. So, again, it's a living document, and as the needs change, and we're going to do our best to try and accommodate the needs of the residents and also provide a safe highway system for the folks that use it.
Steve, did you have something else?
Well, I was just, as Mike was looking to talk for a second, I was on the comprehensive plan committee the last time around that Mike chaired. And that effort was led by a person out of Delaware County who facilitated pulling that plan together. And as I remember, we had transportation discussion as part of that. And do you have any recollection of a connector through Harlem Township ever surfacing in our discussion 4 years ago?
Well, at that time, the discussion was there's going to be Fancher Road,
Yeah.
not Centerville.
Yeah. Right.
Sir?
And just as a point of reference, I may have the details wrong, but the thoroughfare plan that was put together in 2001 included, my understanding, of a thoroughfare from where the Smothers roundabout is now to State 605. That it was basically running along the boundary between Franklin and Delaware counties. And what I was told within the past few months is that concept is off the table, that there's no interest in building that bypass. So what was in the thoroughfare plan 25 years ago is subject to being thrown out the window.
Yeah, when I mentioned Fancher, that's exactly what I'm referring to. Tom's mentioning Smothers because it starts out being Smothers and then connects with Fancher. That was our understanding in 2021 in terms of what was part of the plan for the future. Center Village was not brought into the picture in terms of the discussion from Delaware County Regional Planning Commission. Now, it's a county program, Delaware County Regional Planning, but it's not connected directly with the county engineer's office. They operate independently.
Anything else? We need to move on. Doug, would you like to discuss the situation between Delaware County and Intel? Or I mean, AEP?
AP, yeah, certainly. As trustees may be aware, there's an extension of, some high tension power lines. Is known as the Vassal Green Chapel S line for AEP. And AEP has been a discussion with our office and the county commissioners as far as, as they construct that work, they have to access not only county but township roads. And a road use maintenance agreement, or a RUMA, was approved by the county commissioners on March 3rd, excuse me, of this month. And it includes 3 township roads in Harlem Township. Be Needles, Green Cook, and I got to get the third one here. Pardon me, I bet on a different sheet. Oh, Trenton Road, of course. Yes, Needles, Green Cook, and Trenton Road. AEP, basically, I need to find and locate a signed copy of that agreement and provide it by email to you all. We will take care of, working with AEP to make sure any damage that they do basically to any of the roads they use, including the ones in Harlem Township, are repaired to the satisfaction of, our office working with obviously the township.
Yeah, I think that also crosses Needles. Vassal does. The Vassal line crosses Needles, but then the Curly line, which would be the second one, crosses Green Cook.
Yeah.
Green Cook, Needles, and Trenton were the 3 you listed.
Yes, correct, Adam. Yeah, so I honestly, unfortunately, don't have any information on when that work is going to start, but we've got the road use maintenance agreement, in place now. So we'll obviously keep you all informed as they start work, so you are aware of, things happening in the township.
Yeah, they've been placing mats and already took out 1 power pole.
Repaired.
Yeah, they got a poly Band-Aid on it, about 6 feet long. So that probably won't get fixed till the pole breaks off completely. Just at Woodtown 605. Okay, gentlemen, we got a couple other things want to get into while Doug's here.
Thank you, Doug. Oh, you got a couple things for Doug?
Yeah, we've got it on our agenda to approve the Trenton Road culvert replacement. They had updated, so I'd like to do that now. It's resolution 25-0319 OOT. Somebody wants to make a motion. It's going to be the cost of $25,517.05.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay. And we did not receive our funding for our OPWC for the Green Cook project. We'll discuss that, like I said, Doug, get back to you what we want to submit for this next season. And I talked with Jason today, and he's gonna, I think he told you, check the roads and get back to you if we need any mastic.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I think he's planning on doing that by the first of the week, I think.
Okay.
They'll handle that.
And if there is any, we'll have an estimate back to you by your April meeting.
Yeah, okay. I think that's all you and I talked about, isn't it?
Yeah. One other thing, the bid, we're gonna open bids on April 1st for the road improvement program, so we'll get back to you all with how the bids look versus the road work you guys have submitted, and we'll have a contract probably ready by your April meeting.
Did Jason mention to you about some pavement repair to maybe look at on the east end of Lewis?
He did not. He might have contacted John Huffman.
Yeah, I could have.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a local guy look at it and give us an idea.
Okay.
I think what it was, a lot of trucks turning on that road that shouldn't be on it and took a toll in the turning.
It's been a tough winter too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I took a bumpy ride across Duncan Plains this morning. Wow. It was like a roller coaster before, but now it's worse. Roller coaster of potholes, big ones. All right. I think that's it for you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, John, you want to get back on?
And so, the next point is a question. Since Crossroads is no longer working on the zoning overlays, should we adjust compensation in that area of expertise to an hourly wage and discontinue the previous contract? And so I had a discussion with Holly about this possibility, and I think that she is open to this, when she engages the zoning commission or the board around issues dealing with zoning or overlays, that's billed separately from the strategic planning contract.
Okay.
And an hourly wage seemed appropriate.
In addition to that is any work that I'm doing with Galena on the JED, and any other meetings that I'm going to regarding Columbus.
Yes.
What would the hourly rate be? Okay.
What would the max be? She has to come back to you guys.
Why don't you do, the contract I have in place right now is a flat $5,000 fee.
Mhm.
So why don't you just do the 150 up to the 5,000? I don't think I'll ever reach it.
Yeah.
But that way we're keeping it consistent with what I had. And then if you ever, when we get through this process and you want to go back to any other zoning work, you have that established.
Okay. That, what do you think, gentlemen?
I'm very comfortable with that.
Same. I don't know. Resolution requirement, would be dissolving the original contract or amending it?
I think we just do a one-page amendment to it that outlines what we talked about tonight, and then you could just authorize it to be signed.
You want to prepare a document and get it to us? Okay, that sounds reasonable. All right.
The next topic is discussion on adopting a home rule government for Harlem Township. Yes.
Vote on that though, so
Oh, yeah.
somebody can, I'll be authorized to sign the amendment.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need a resolution number on that.
Yeah, we're gonna need one.
Not one in the book. Ashley, you got a resolution, or can we add one afterwards?
To add it because putting in the TIFs messed up all of our resolution.
Yeah.
Sure.
It would be. All right.
I'm trying to figure out.
It would be 08.
So 08 would be for amending Holly's contract. Or does that be the last TIF?
Nope, 07 was the last tip. Or wait, no, because you guys just did the culvert, so we'll put it after the culvert, so it'll be 09.
So resolution 25-0319T-009.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to amend the contract with Crossroads, adjusting from the $5,000 to $150 an hour, typically targeting maximum of 33 hours.
Okay. With who is a signer?
I'd approve John as a signer.
Okay,
Is there a second?
take care of it. There's a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Tree.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Moving on.
Discussion on adopting a home rule government for Harlem Township.
Okay.
I believe that the township has discussed this in the past. This board has not discussed
No.
this topic. And Dave can speak to that. This has implications for that push toward autonomy and making decisions for our own future. For example, my understanding is that if we had home rule, we would no longer have to go always to Delaware County Engineering Office for engineering decisions. That we could actually contract out our own engineer. And we had a long discussion tonight about thoroughfare. That we have our own engineer design our own thoroughfare that this board approves, and voila. We avoid the county oversight. That, of course, comes with a cost where you don't have all those great benefits that the county provides for you when it comes to roads, for example. But it is an incremental step toward complete autonomy, and of course, ultimately incorporation, which we don't have the population required for incorporation yet, but we do believe we have the population required for some form of home rule. And so I just wanted to put that on the table for us to talk about and for the residents to be aware of.
Yeah, it seems like it's been long ago that was discussed. I don't remember what point we got to. And I think we're gonna have to collect some intel of the pros and cons and what we, like you said, the engineer, what we become responsible for, and see if we can take that on. So I think that's, I or you or whatever, contact the High Township Association for some intel there. I don't know if Corey at prosecutor's office could enlighten us also. And touch base with the engineer's office to see when they step clear out of the circle and don't help us any, and even ODOT. Seems like, I remember something about that on roadways. So it becomes something tough to bankroll, but it's worth looking at. You know, it's like everything else, we gotta look under all the rocks.
For the residents' information, this is something that it goes to the ballot. And we'd be looking perhaps at the May 26th election, if this would be something we decide we'd like to take on. That would probably be the first reasonable opportunity.
I don't think that'd happen. What is, well, you gotta be so many days out in front of the election.
Yes.
And I forget. Do you remember, Joni?
Get 10% of the electors.
Yeah.
of Unincorporated territory to sign.
Mhm. So that's a big
Is that
task.
a requirement of this? Because I believe if we meet
That's
the
what it said,
requirements, the
right?
board submits the notice to the Board of Elections and they put it on the ballot.
So there are technicalities that we need to explore.
Yeah, there's, it's back and forth on all
So
these
let's do
requirements.
that.
Yeah,
We'll do that. We'll talk to the Board of Elections about it.
okay.
And they
Fair
would, if we looked into it, they'd entertain the current population count, or would they revert to the previous census? That's one question.
I think it's a great question.
Yeah,
Would they even be willing to adopt where the county planning commission has a projection for Harlem Township in 25, for example, that already exceeds the 2,500 or the 5,000 number? Would they be willing to consider that as a solid figure versus a 2020 census?
Just to your point, there's the stipulations change of $5,000 or 5,000 population.
yeah.
And as of the 2020 census, we were less than 500 away from that. And that was
Correct.
5 years ago. So to me, that's one of the biggest questions, that and the securities, right? The indebtedness of the township.
Yes, yes.
Changes significantly.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a lot of due diligence involved, but I do think, especially with infrastructure changes and how that landscape has changed, it is something that we need to consider, or at least weigh.
Okay. Anything else, John?
No, sir. We'll work on.
Yeah, we'll have to do some intel on that. Okay, next item we have on the agenda is to support the OPWC.
Oh, there's one more.
Is there? Did I miss something?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, go ahead.
One more question.
All right.
Should Harlem Township begin a process toward hiring a township administrator?
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to put that on the agenda as a
Well, that's
part of the
another
conversation.
thought finder, and my biggest concern there is budgetary. We've got 2 high dollar maintenance guys. We have full-time zoning person, full-time administrator, administrative assistant. And you gotta bear in mind, there's raises every year, and we've spent money monthly since we engaged Holly. So I've gotta go over things with Lisa on that to see where we're at. Yes.
We did look a little bit at the home rule, and if you do decide to put home rule on the ballot, it does require an administrator.
If we have less than 5,000 in population.
Okay.
I think you're.
Okay.
Current version of ORC says 5,000.
I'm just saying, I think Delaware, I think it's, yeah.
I just knew it was in there.
Yeah, no, I'm
somewhere.
not telling you
Yeah.
it's for due diligence.
These things work together, right? They work together.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
give me that again. It's what's the requirement?
I got the ORC code printed out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, or ORC 504.01 says that for only townships with a population of 2,500 or more may adopt a limited home rule government. Township with a population less than 5,000 is required to appoint a township administrator and must have estimated resources of $3.5 million. For townships with a population of 5,000 or more, there are no such qualifications. It is still a balloted measure. But as of the 2020 census, our population was 4,554. See what I mean?
Cause which one are you
I
reading?
just knew it was
Cause
something
what I
I
read
saw,
is
I
just
figured.
one sentence stating that the trustees appoint a township administrator under Division A2 of Section 505.031 of the revised code.
Yeah.
Which one are you looking at?
So you can, in the ORC, the section, chapter 504 is specifically about the limited home rule, and those requirements are identified in section 504.01.
Okay, that's what I have. And it's just says C, the Board of Township Trustees appoint a township administrator. It doesn't say limits or anything.
Yeah, I've also got this brief right here that the Township Association uses. This is from December 8th, 2021.
Adam is correct.
Good voice from.
If God says I'm right, I must be right.
I'm just letting you know what.
Yeah. So Dave, you said that there certainly are financial issues to address.
That's the
if we walk
biggie.
down
That's
this
the
path.
biggie.
My thing would be finding the right person. That I don't think that we want a neophyte in this job, but someone who has a decade of experience under their belt. And it would be ideal if they already have established a lot of the relationships that I emphasized tonight. They already know the leadership in these municipalities, in these organizations, and can move well within those circles. That would be better to have at the beginning than having to come up to speed with the environment that we're in. But I do look at it as an incredible opportunity for someone to come into a township that's at the cusp of development and grab this vision and help execute it. I'm like, man, what a great opportunity this presents. My 2 cents.
Well, and like, the day-to-day operations, like this fraud training.
Right.
I've been trying to get all employees to do it, and there is some employees since January the 9th that still has not done it. 3 months, and I have sent emails with the link, and I mean, I'm having an audit April 11th. I've got to have all that. Every single person. And I don't know how John reached out to him, talked to him. I don't know what else to do. I'm not getting
Maybe their
what
paycheck
we
gets lost.
need. Huh?
I said, maybe their paycheck gets lost.
It doesn't, it only comes one time a year.
Yeah, it only comes
I
once a
know.
year, Dave.
It won't matter till December.
Right.
So, I mean, I've spent 3 months on this, trying to get people. If we had an administrator, I would have had it. Of what I needed. And like the insurance policy, they would have reviewed it. And discussed with department heads. And then came back to you guys and told you what changed and. I mean, administrator does a lot more than what people think they do. They go after grants. I've got a thing from Paul Weiss, the administrator over at Genoa. He's having a special meeting for the purpose meeting to review the township irrigation contract and make amendment to the contract for the benefit of Genoa Township residents due to natural gas regulator change. Any of you guys know what that means? What's gonna benefit? I mean, stuff like that. And we have a gas that's gonna be coming up, but he's making an amendment.
Mhm.
Nobody knows what it means over here. I don't know what it means.
Yeah, it's the whole home rule issue. We would just say to the administrator, hey, here's your homework assignment. Go do it. Bring us back a talking point paper.
But they do a lot.
Yeah.
Like, they would relieve some of the things that you guys do.
Right.
It isn't just another employee. They represent, like Paul goes and talks to other townships, other city. I mean, he is very involved.
Yeah. And the biggest problem is that there's a big market. There's just the lack of those qualified people out there unless you get a newbie out of college, and he's not gonna be able to do that because he doesn't have any contacts like what you're saying, and probably even the knowledge to dial the phone.
Well, I think it would be important for us to have.
Yeah, well, we need somebody that's got experience, that's got some contacts, maybe doesn't want to hammer the road a lot, you know, that kind of thing. But, and that's gonna be a tough, I mean, here a couple of years ago, we thought we had a lead and that didn't work out. But here we are.
Yeah, so I did talk to Director Stevenson in Columbus, in the city of Columbus, and said, hey, who's your best township administrator? And he pointed me to Prairie Township. And it's a guy who worked for the city of Columbus for 30 years as an engineer, and he's then the township hired him. And I went down and talked to him and just doing an incredible job in Prairie Township, which is not Harlem Township. Prairie Township has Broad Street running through it, right? It's a whole nother world.
Right.
Nevertheless, the responsibilities are kind of similar. And so he was very open to helping us provide a job description, a scope of work. He would be willing to sit in on an interview process. I think Paul Wise at Genoa said the same thing. Hey, when you go to interview this guy or gal, I'm more than happy to sit in on that process, which to me, that would be invaluable for us in making a good decision, because to make a bad decision here would be not good. But yes, ma'am.
John, do you have any idea as far as in the experience that you're talking with, what the median of the salary would be?
Yeah, I think you're looking at about 150K. If you want a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Backpedaling just a little bit, Lisa, to what you were talking about as far as the requirements for putting a home rule on the ballot. If you have a population of less than 5,000, it does require 10% elector petition. If you're over 5,000 on population, the board by majority vote can submit it to the Board of Election.
15,000, trustees can just do
As long as we have a hearing.
it. Have to have a hearing.
So with the board's permission, I can begin to put together a job description, scope of work, and just begin this process.
Yeah, we need to do that to see
Where
what
we
we
are.
want, what's
Yep.
on our wish list.
Yep.
That part we need to do.
Okay,
I concur.
thanks.
Okay. All right. We've got a resolution here to support the state capital improvement program, which is on the ballot here in May. To give a little highlight about it, this past year, we had a OPWC, what we usually call it, High Public Works Commission, funded grant for Montgomery Road. About 3 years ago, we had Trenton Road. I believe we had Keller Pines several years ago. And years ago, when I first came on the board, Gorsuch Road East between 605 and Miller Paul, that's when they put the new bridge in. We'd participated, I think, and years later on after that with Green Cook and Robbins, different sections of it. So we've benefited from that quite a bit. Usually we put in, again, the Delaware County Engineers Office does the application nowadays. We usually contribute like around 11% of the cost to the project, and the county engineer's office has a grant enhancement program, which has been a great benefit to us and got more points for us. And I think the one for Montgomery Road, they contributed, what was it, over 50,000, Lisa?
So, so the total cost of Montgomery was $329,600. Harlem's portion of cost was $21,424. OPWC grant paid $192,163.44.
Right.
So OPWC pays 74%, while Delaware County pays 19.2%, and Harlem Township pays 6.5% of the project.
Yeah. So it's brought money back to the township, and then, like I say, with Delaware County, with their grant enhancement, what they do usually gives us some extra points in the scoring process. Like I said earlier, we didn't do fare so well this season with our north end of Green Cook, but I think possibly, of course, we had a grant last year. This is very competitive. There's thousands of applications, but I think the crossing of the Intel power line could have had something to do with it. They didn't necessarily want to fund a project. It was going to have heavy traffic go across it. So suspicion. But I would move we act on resolution 25-0319T007.
Nope, 10.
Up 10.
Can I add something?
Yeah,
This does not affect our taxes.
exactly.
This is a wonderful program, and a lot of people don't realize how much these projects cost and how much OPWC helps them. And about every 10 years, they have to go and get it voted on. Well, they want to raise it. And they haven't raised it in 10 years. So they want to raise it to 250 million of grant funds from 2.3. So local governments, it's provided like 4,490 road projects or infraction projects for townships that otherwise we couldn't afford.
Right.
I mean, it's very important
Yeah,
for people to understand it.
yeah, the three projects, well, this is, I think you had Green Cook on there. That's if we would have got it this year.
Yeah, if we would have got it.
Montgomery Road, Pine and Keller Pines area. that was been 513,000. So it's less than that, but like I said, there's years before we've had several $100,000 worth of grant money. In the last 40 years, this program has provided $7 billion in improvements for Ohio roads and bridges to keep them safe and in good condition for residents. So I would make a motion again. Okay. Roll call vote, please, Ashley.
Jackson.
Aye.
Collins.
Hi.
Aye. Okay. Now we got trustee minutes for February 19th and special meeting February 22nd.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain. I wasn't here for those two meetings. Chief, you're up.
Oh, yeah, phone stuff.
No.
That's my thing. So.
That's right above the.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We will finish signing tonight, or you guys, John, whoever, you signed half of the paperwork, so I figured you'd probably finish signing the rest. There was some issue with the address. They fixed the address, so now I have the official paperwork. So we can sign on that and I can send it to our Spectrum representative, Jim Hill. And he said within 1 week, we will have a work order submitted and a project manager put on our account. So, you know, they pretty much run the hooking up of the phone lines with Spectrum. They were able to get the free 3 months that we had asked for. There were a couple things that weren't included in like the setup process of it, which is understandable. There was some setup that just wasn't included in that 3 months, but the actual service was. So we did get a portion of that taken care of for the first 3 months. So it's a week of the work order in the project manager. And then once the project manager sets the dates, it will be between 30 and 45 days for the install. Now I am going to talk to Jim tomorrow and say, hey, is there any way for us to expedite that? We're having XYZ issues. Like the text that you sent me on Thursday did not come through until Sunday afternoon. Which was very frustrating because, you know, it would have been great to know that you were asking about the Zoom. So I'm going to see if we'll expedite that for us and get it a little quicker. I did get our buyout back. You guys have those papers in there. We did get, you guys had approved for $5,000 worth of buyout. And when we got our buyout back, it is $7,680. I messaged back, I asked, hey, you know, can I get an itemized receipt of why this is the price? Seems a little high. They said it is literally just the extent of our contract, which is over on February 13th of 27. So we did do the math to make sure that they were correct, and that is the appropriate buyout for that time. It was a little more extended than what he thought it was.
Well, what if we keep paying because we've got 30 to 45 days, so would not change? Cause I've got a bill right now, they just emailed me.
What, the gray bar?
Yeah.
I mean, we can keep just paying through our contract instead of doing the buyout.
Yeah, what I'm saying, I'm saying, by the time you said 30 to 45 days.
Yeah.
Would they minus what payments we have made?
Yes.
Okay.
They would. But it's not gonna, I mean, sadly, it's not gonna make a huge dent because it's only what, $300, but hey, $300 is $300.
Every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps, but to do that payoff once we do get Spectrum in here and the
So they're saying we're liable,
fake Spectrum unhooked.
we're liable for how much more contract with them? The old provider?
Until February 13th of 27.
Total about 7,700.
Yeah, it's about 77.
Okay, got it.
So it would essentially be that you guys would have to approve an extra $2,000 to go towards the buyout.
And we're responsible for returning equipment to where? We don't know yet.
They said that they will let us know when we buy out where we're sending the equipment.
Well, I can tell you right now, with some experience on returning equipment, you're gonna have to get it documented somehow, a return receipt or something. Where they're gonna claim they didn't receive it and bill us for equipment, and so that's a whole nother nightmare.
Yeah, and it's Graybar Financial Services is the one that is doing the buyout, and then it's Spectrum VoIP that is doing the return of the equipment. So essentially Spectrum VoIP owns the equipment, but Graybar is who they lease through. So it's pretty much paying out our lease for the phone system. That doesn't work. We did look at the contract, trying to figure out, Chief and I sat down, looked at it to see if there were any essentially loopholes for our service just being awful and them not having a representative out here to help us and the lack of help. And there's literally nothing.
Sounds like we just need to be done with it. So
Yeah.
you need a resolution. So we need a resolution
For
to
like
add.
$2,000 more.
So you got a resolution number on
Then
that?
I think that's what we would need to do, right?
Well, we approved $5,500 in the previous resolution for the cancellation of this, for the termination of this current service. So what I would do, if, what are we on, 11 dash 011? So resolution 011, I would make a motion to approve, an actual amount up to $7,700. And instead of the original $5,500 to terminate the existing telephone contract.
What was the amount?
Up to $7,700, $7,700.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now we have the minutes for 19 and 22. We did that, didn't we? Okay, sorry. Chief, you're up.
Just a couple of things real quick. Our annual report has been sent out to all three of you. It's also published on the website. It includes what we did, what we're doing, and what we plan on doing. And every year it should get more comprehensive as we establish some of the things that I mentioned in our baseline and benchmark responses and other things. So it will grow along with everything else. It seems like every meeting we have people leave, we have people come on. It's a revolving door, which we're looking at, are there ways to fix that? But in the meantime, we are short a couple permanent part-time spots and some part-time spots. I've told a couple of you, it's great because people are coming to us. We're not even advertising. People are just dropping off applications. So we've gotten quite the pool. But to speed up the process, and you guys have done this before, from resolution 25-319T 12. Okay, good. We would like to have the authorization to offer up to 4 more part-time or permanent part-time positions, contingent upon their physicals and their background check.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Carry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Is that it for now? Okay, Jason gave me a call this evening and, like I said before, we just approved the Trenton Road culvert replacement. That's replacing the 2 metal ones with an elliptical, culvert. County's gonna do that procedure. And like was stated before, we didn't get our OPWC grant this season. He done some final grading and seeding in the the county did on the new box culvert on South Green Cook, south of Fancher. And he's got some, like I said before, problem with some pavement on Lewis Road on the end by Green Cook. He's going to assess that for repair. Cemetery had 4 burials since the last trustee meeting. Minor fence repair was performed at the south end of Maple Grove Cemetery. He's topped off all previous burials. That's been the last 5 months with soil. Graveside flags and decorations will be removed the second week of April. Parks, he's moving forward with the restroom renovation project with the support of the park committee. Flagpole light's been replaced. It wasn't working. New light bulb replaced in this light on the restroom. looking to seal the walking path here when the weather allows. Silo demolition is likely to happen near the end of March, if not first of April. Looking for possibility of obtaining some fill dirt for the old plant site. Heritage Committee replaced or put in some shelves in the storage area and paint by Dustin. Gravel had been added to the front parking lot. Seth's needing to repair drain culvert and pipe that runs across the front yard as it's failing. The shelves in the storage room, was there any discussion about, I know I'd seen on the minutes of the Heritage, but was it $1,500 cost? Johnny, do you know?
I don't remember the total, but it was less than we had originally thought it was going to
Yeah. I didn't know whether John and Adam got looped in on that or not. So I don't know what their thoughts was of reimbursing Heritage for that.
Yeah, no issues.
Is that something we can do, Lisa?
Yeah, but next time,
I know. I didn't think it was gonna happen that soon, or I'd have, I'm 5,000 mile away and
next time, any committee or groups that need reimbursed, they should have them bill Harlan Township and us pay the vendor,
correct.
not the committees.
Yeah.
We need to let Karen know that, because she did all the figuring out of what was going to be needed and how to fit it in, and then Jim Steele's,
So with that, do we want to do a motion now or just approve if it shows up on your check run?
Well, I mean, go ahead and approve it, but
Okay.
They need to
Okay,
make sure they go through Harlan Township, go through
correct.
Jason.
Yeah, I saw it in whatever the last minutes was. The next thing I know it was done, so. I would make a motion, we reimburse the Heritage up to $1,500 for the installation of the shelves and the storage of the Grange. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Let's see.
Also for Jason, he asked me to mention, when he first started, there was an iPad floating around that was used for the cemetery.
I have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. He said, I don't know where it ended
He
up.
wants it?
I think John has it.
Yes.
He would like it if you're not
But
using it.
we'll arrange terms on that.
He's having trouble when they're out there. When
Sure.
it was used
Oh,
for the
yeah. It's a
cemetery,
great
then
tool.
Kendra had it, then we figured you had it because you were the one working on the cemeteries. When he's out there and he's trying to use his tiny phone.
No, it's a great tool.
And the lines are not straight and everything's all over the place and they're trying not to hit other people.
Got it.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
he needs that.
Got it.
Thank you.
Bouncing the weight bar or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may not be safe sitting over here or something.
Oh, you should hear
Yeah,
it
but
during
it's
the
all the way
commission
over there.
meetings.
Not anymore.
It bounced. Okay, while we're talking about cemetery and cleanup, and even though it's only March, almost April, flags for do we need to get on that for us? What's our supply, John? Was you looped in on that?
I'm not looped in on this. Yeah.
I think it's the VFW in Sunbury that.
Well,
that they
usually
talk to, or VA.
flag lady, isn't it, Lisa?
She was really expensive.
Very
Okay, did they find another source?
Well, I looked on Amazon and Amazon had, made in the USA flags were way less
Is that
expensive.
what we did last season or no?
No, I think it was, Sunbury.
Sunbury donated.
Oh, really? Well, we need to,
So I'm gonna talk to them and see if they
Okay.
are willing to donate again this year, because last year they did donate them, and I think it was through the VFW, wasn't it?
okay,
So I'm gonna call the VFW and talk to,
okay,
I know the lady up there and see if she's.
okay,
willing to
well,
do it again.
be a good thing to get ahead of that.
I might actually just. I'll just stop by this. week
Okay.
and ask her if they're wanting to do that.
All right. Dave, you got anything?
But first I got a question.
Yeah,
Graveside flags and decorations will be removed? I'm not
I'm
sure.
reading what it was, man.
I know, I was confused. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, it's a spring cleanup.
The So any of the old.
Like if there's Christmas
Flowers.
decorations.
Yeah.
I think that's what he means.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a cleanup,
Right.
and the idea will be that we'll have flags there Memorial Day.
Yeah, that's what I was asking Ashley about the supply.
All of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Essentially, we just ask the residents to clean the grates off of anything that they want to take home and keep. Any kind of sentimental stuff, because the guys are gonna go up there and take everything off. It happens every April. So for everybody out there and watching the video later land, we told you, and it's on the website. Because people every year, well, they took the flowers off, so just so that we all know, they will be cleaned up and they will get fresh
didn't,
flowers.
it wasn't on the agenda. Okay. Yes,
Now getting back to me.
no, this, I wanna,
Park Planning Committee.
just a second. Holly, you wanna give us a quick update? I'm sorry.
So, first of all, before I talk about strategic planning, I would like to say, if you guys, don't know what your plan is with the TIF, but it does need to be filed with the state. So if you need help with that, let me know. The one that got adopted tonight. So once you get it
Does-
signed.
Does Pete typically do
Yeah, yeah, he can help you. Yep,
Okay.
yep. So just want to make sure you knew to do that.
Okay,
Yep. Okay, then, as far as strategic planning, we held our first strategic planning committee meeting, last week. I thought it went very well. We had all 7, individuals introduce themselves, give their backgrounds, give the reason why they wanted to, be a part of the committee. And then, we gave an overview of the previous, February public meeting. All of the committee members had attended, but they reviewed the one pager document that we put together. And they confirmed that pretty well accurately reflected the meeting. So I thought that was positive in moving forward with getting that word out to describe what happened on February 8th. And then we just had a lot of conversation about where the township has been and kind of bringing them up to speed. I gave them, after the meeting, a number of documents to review. I gave them the comprehensive plan, the quick strategy guide, all the overlay districts, for them to as homework to review and come back to the next meeting, having a better understanding of where the township has been. Some of them hadn't read some of those documents. We also provided them with a soup jar, mason jar. It's called Soup Session. And we're going to be passing those out at the March 29th meeting to the public, to those who want to take them. But we asked the steering committee to do this first. And what it is if you've ever heard of meeting in a box, it's a take on that. Meeting in the box idea is that you utilize your residents of your community to help spread the word, to mushroom out the word of what and get input from the community through the steering committee. So meeting in a box is everything that needs to be done for a meeting is put in the box. It gives you a direction sheet on how to run a meeting. It gives you all the different talking points and all the different activities that you should do in that meeting. And so we took the meeting in the box idea and translated it into mason jars and called it Soup Session, since it reflects the agricultural character of Harlem Township. And Angela Cryle did a really nice job in putting the soup jars together. The committee was excited about it. They have already started to schedule these meetings. And I love it. It's like little recipe cards are inside of the soup jar, giving them instructions on how to do this. And what they are going to be doing is a similar activity as what the public did at the February 8th meeting. So the SOAR activity, the strengths, opportunities, aspirations equals results. And that helped us identify the strategic priorities that John shared earlier in his presentation, those came out of that February 8th meeting. So the intent is that we had 120 people at the February 8th meeting, but as residents take these soup jars out and hold soup sessions in their house with their neighbors and their friends, that we're going to multiply the individuals that are participating in this public input process. And we will see how those strategic priorities continue to either align, or maybe we get something that we're seeing different as it mushrooms out into these smaller committee meeting, soup session meetings. So these committee members are doing this. They're going to try to get them done before the meeting on the 29th so that they can share their experience in doing these meetings with the folks that attend the March 29th public meeting that we're having. And then we'll pass out the remainder of the soup session jars. I think we had a total of 19 or 29 jars. I think it's 29 jars. And I've passed out 7 to the committee members. So the rest of them will get passed out on the 29th. So I keep talking about March 29th. So that is our next public meeting. It's our intent at that meeting to really start unveiling some of the conversations that that John mentioned tonight, have that PowerPoint presentation at that meeting so that residents will start hearing the message of the direction that we're hearing as we move from these sessions, what we're hearing from the residents and how that's translating into conversations with these other communities and how we're working towards finding our strategic path through these planning sessions. So March 29th, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Harlem Road Church. I encourage everyone to attend and be ready to listen to that, and then also have some input sessions at that meeting and some additional subject matter experts is what we're hoping to have at that meeting as well. So that's my update. If you have any questions.
Any questions?
Thanks, Holly.
Right.
Nope, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave.
Okay. Well, first, welcome back, Dave. Good to see you here. Regarding Parks Planning Committee, the top priority has been the restroom building renovations. Last meeting, we sharpened up our pencils and we went to work. Spent a good part of the meeting just specifically looking at what we were going to be doing, itemizing things, and we had estimated the budget at $40,000. We were able to, with working with the maintenance department, find ways that we could reduce that. We have emphasized throughout all of this the need for quality. We found that we were able to add more to the renovation, the upgrades than we had originally planned, and we reduced the budget by more than 30%. It was at $40,000. It's now down at $25,000.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else?
That's all today.
Okay, fair enough. Gee, let's see, Mike, you got a lot of stuff on the list here.
I don't really have all that much. Right now, we are at 16 permits actually for a year. We're currently tracking 10 code enforcement violations. 4 of them, we've got 4 violations are businesses operating in residential areas. We got a commercial poured wall business on Center Village Road. The owner has had 2 preliminary meetings with the zoning commission, and he's working on a possible PCD. They've not filed an application yet. That's correct, right, Mike?
Neff did file.
No, not Neff. The
No,
poured
the
walls,
other- no,
Mario.
that's not it.
I didn't see anything yet on it. The dump truck, which is the one you're talking about, we've got a commercial. And by the way, I'm gonna get with Corey on that. I'll probably try to call Scott Messer too, because he's the one working with Mario on it to see what they're gonna do. He may have decided they're just not gonna do it, but find out. We got the commercial dump truck business on Center Village Road. The owner's just submitted an application for a PCD with the zoning commission. It's currently under review. That's gonna be a fiery hearing. because I've probably had about 6 residents call me on that, want to know when it is. I don't think it'll be hostile, but there'll definitely be people there wanting to put their opinion out. Especially the one that initially filed it. She's got a very, very lengthy dissertation she'd like to have there, but very nice people though. Don't be afraid. Very nice people, but they are excited. Yes. We've also got a commercial landscaping business that was, they met with the BZA this last meeting and they approved their expanded home use variance. The majority of that business has been moved out and they've reduced it to where they can fall under the expanded home use. Also got a commercial landscaping business on Fancher Road that I'm still working with. That's TAG. They're moving their stuff, the majority of theirs, to their New Albany location. And he's currently working with the health department also to get his sewer situation straightened around, that he had an issue with them. And then he's going to finish cleaning out that building, and I'm going to go out and do an inspection on it. Got 6 nuisance properties for junk cars and discarded debris and trash. 4 of them, we're still working on cleaning it up. They're making gains, not as quickly as I'd like, but they are making gains. We still have the 2 unowned properties that we can't take additional action on. I sent out 2 friendly requests on a problem, a nuisance property we've got in the township. And then I just this past Monday sent out their first violation action on it. Be a little lenient on that one right now because the guy that owns it started working on the situation and now he's going through some health issues, some dialysis. So I'm gonna let him keep working on that and see what we can get fixed. Working on a variance issue that the terms of the variance are being violated. I've sent 2 emails to him, not emails, but 2 mails, 2 letters to him, and have not heard back from him. He's going to get I'm going to call it a violation. I'm just going to let him know I'm going to withdraw his variance, and then we're going to go to the violation point if he doesn't stop. He's not following the guidelines of his variance. He's only supposed to have 4 cars in front of his building, and every time I go by there, he's got 6 or 8. And that's not what we agreed upon. And we've got neighbors complaining about it. The zoning commission is still working on the storage unit business down on Fancher Road. I think they're waiting on occupancy permit to make that ruling. Is that correct, Mike?
Occupancy permits will be provided by the time that we first enable.
Yeah.
Or April 6th, first meeting.
Then we'll have a ruling on that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I've also got another business that, something I gotta take up with Mike. It's nothing else. You guys got anything?
I was gonna ask you, you said 16 permits. Is that month or year to date?
That's year to date.
How's that trend from last year, previous year?
Well, last year it was slow too. I think we're still about 2 ahead than we were last year, but yeah. I do have 2 other ones sitting in there just got today. And then we got a few that'll be coming in because I'm working with a lot of the residents. Let them know how they got to do it, what they got to turn in and everything before they can turn them in. So.
Okay.
So typically, so now I would assume you're handling calls from developers. And are you, do you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah,
You feel
I'm
like
fine
you
with
have
it.
the time to do that?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not getting a lot of them.
Okay.
They're probably still calling Jim, I would imagine, and Jim, he's told me few have called and he's given me a heads up and they have not called me.
So I had one call me. Did you send them my way?
Nope.
Then Jim must have sent them my way.
He might have.
Okay, very
He
good.
told me he's sending them all to me.
Okay.
So
Copy.
we'll see if it gets, before I send them to you, I'll either call you and let you know. Or
Thank you.
I'm not just gonna dump them and you get a surprise phone call in the middle of the night.
Thank you. Yep.
They do. They call at all hours.
Thanks.
Okay, Lindsay. We gotta move you up the line next month.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Hi.
Communications Committee is currently working on our April quarterly township newsletter. We're collecting information from the different departments. Something we're specifically looking forward to. We typically try to do something fun each newsletter that isn't a department update, and the idea of this newsletter was utilizing and showing off all of the neat historic township maps that we have. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, in addition to all these different department updates and everything that we have. In addition, we have our monthly email that will go out this coming Tuesday. And we are supporting any individual email blasts that need to go out, like reminding people about the strategic planning input session on March 29th. And then finally, our meeting that we had this month was really fruitful. We spent a long time doing an audit of the township website. And now we have a spreadsheet with comments to share with Ashley to then share with Revise. The good news is that we really felt like, after spending a lot of time with the website, that there was not a lot of drastic changes that should be made. It's more as an organization issue to help people find things easier. But we didn't realize how much information was on the township website until we combed through it like that. So a perfect example is our zoning maps and our zoning resolutions are all there, but they're only located at the bottom corner of the BZA page. So it's just not the most intuitive place for that to be. And that's just one example of things that could be rearranged so things are easier to find. So I thought that was encouraging, because we're not talking about some major overhaul of the township website. And hopefully we'll be able to share with residents that the township website actually has a lot of really valuable information, and we can just organize it better. And that's my update. Any questions for us?
Do we have any sense of traffic on that website?
Tim, I do not have any idea of if there's like analytics for the website. I'd be happy to assist with hooking that up if we wanted to.
Google Analytics on there?
Yeah, but I don't actually think there's any logins to that or anything like that. But if we would like to talk about that after Revise does that, then I know how to do that. I can help hook that up.
There is gonna be some input with Revise. They're gonna give us a little facelift then.
So it sounds like as part of their contract, they allow a set of revisions.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd share our feedback with them, and then Ashley can schedule a meeting, and then they can determine what they think is within that scope.
Okay.
And then on Tuesday, when our township email blast goes out, we were going to include, because we have our communications email address, we're just going to include a question to residents. If you have something that's always bothered you, or go ahead and email that communications email. That way we have an additional opportunity to collect feedback before we go to Revise.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
All right. Any public comments here? Yes, Joni.
Thanks. First, I had a question for John during his presentation. You repeatedly referred to the village of Harlem, which
Yes.
has existed for a century or more.
Yes.
And we do not have that on our zoning list of something we want to create as a village.
Right.
We do have Center Village as a village that we want to create something more expansive with.
Right.
So did you?
Oh, no, that's just trainer throwing something out there. Yeah, so.
Creating a village of Harlem again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If that's just me, when we incorporate at some point in time, whether we call it Center Village, would it be more appropriate at that time when we go from being Harlem Township, call it the Village of Harlem at that point? That's why I call it that. But that's just me postulating. So don't pay any attention to it.
A number of people outside of Harlem Township know about Center Village and
Sure.
visit the houses regularly.
Sure.
And our park, right?
Yep. Yeah. And it's not a hill I'm gonna die on, but.
The second thing, I did want to invite everybody to the first noodle dinner of the year on Friday, the 28th. So come and talk to your neighbors about the meeting on the 29th and enjoy a hearty meal while you're doing that. Between 4 and 7.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else? Yeah.
I'll come up here. I don't even know if the mic is on or not. Molly Snodgrass, 16001 Lewis Road. Thank you for the very informative presentation about where do we go from here? What have we done? so far. I thought that was, well put together. I'll be kind of following to see, what the next steps are with all of this. My one ask is that the township be very mindful of including the school district, Big Walnut Local School District, in the conversation. I know a lot of talk was about the municipal partners, the other township partners, but the school district has even less power than the township at controlling and influencing growth and development, but they have to respond to it. The school district needs to know and be informed on what's coming and engaged with all of this so that they can adequately plan for, the growth that they're going to need to have in their facilities and their programs and offerings and budgeting and everything. So that is my ask. With two young boys in the school district, it's very important to me that the school district be a part of this journey as well. So thank you very much.
Yeah, that's spot on. And I promise you that we will be in their offices in the next couple of weeks, having this conversation. It would be great for the school district to be even a part of our strategic planning process, if they would be willing to be represented there. But that was a bad oversight on my part, not to bring this up tonight, because they're key partners in this, particularly as growth occurs and with these economic development tools. They need to be a vital part of that conversation and key partners in this. And so I want to assure you that they will be.
Okay, and that's great to hear. And I don't know if you're aware, but they're actually kicking off a strategic facilities planning process.
I was not aware.
So it just might be a really great time for some of that engagement to happen, because I don't know if the school district is aware of the zoning and the planning, and like the fact that there might be 7,000 to 8,000 residences in Southern Harlem Township in the next 10 years.
Those are homes that there'll be 15 to 25,000 new residents.
Regardless, like, are they even aware and engaged in that?
Right.
And are they going to account for that in their facility
Right.
planning, strategic planning that they're doing? So just
I've mentioned it a couple of times, but I do want to add that, when last year when we were talking initially in the TIF conversation about a township-wide TIF, we did physically sit down with the superintendent of Big Walnut and their CFO and have a conversation about what our intents were. We've since changed our kind of TIF strategy since then, right? We're more strategic now. We're doing the smaller sections. But our intent has always been to not negatively impact the schools as best we can, right? Like our TIF, our zoning, a lot of the focuses that we're doing right now are focused on the likely business and industry that will come into the township. And so these conversations will have to change and mold a little bit more if we get to the part where we do talk about substantial residential development, right? That just hasn't been necessarily the focus in the areas where we've been tiffing, so to speak, at this point. But I think what you're saying, the board is aligned with, and we have acted in that direction. We'll continue to do so.
great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else?
I think we need to go to exec, right?
Yep. You got your nifty little saying
I
there?
got it. Yeah. Make a motion at 9:37 to move to executive session to consider appointment, employee deployment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual.
Who's to be invited?
Invite chief.
Okay. I'll second that. Roll call vote, please, actually.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Greener.
Hi.
Lisa, do you need to come to this?
I have no idea what it's about.
You brought it up earlier, but I don't think so. I think we can talk to Jeff about it.
Yeah, we'll do this. Remind me, we got documents to sign when we come back.
All right.
Okay, we're back in it. Have them
I'm make a motion to return to regular session at 9:48 PM.
Second.
roll call, please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Holiday.
Aye.
Greener.
Hi.
Okay, we're now back in session. We have just the one thing. We need to sign the documents here. Resolution, first one, John, is in support of the state capital improvement.
Wait, I have all the stuff that you have to sign.
Well, it was in my file, I assumed. You got a more official file?
I have the
With,
official
Oh,
file.
so this,
did,
that's not
I
it?
guess that's my work
No.
copy, gonna be.
And
Lisa, did you fill in who made the motions and this and that?
I'm going to,
Okay, 'cause
gonna essentially.
all right.
Thank you for the.
Do we not have,
Yes, thank you.
anything else to sign?
Tiffs, which I'm
That
assuming
one.
you need to do on the video. So TIFs, they're marked by that.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thanks,
You too. Drive home carefully.
There's the signing. You at least need to sign this.
You ran away too fast.
See, there's usually
I
part of
noticed
that.
that before. Hurry up, sign or I have to
Who
change the date.
calls, Pete Griggs to submit these TIF documents to the state? You'll do that?
Yep.
All right, thank you.
I'll take Lisa can stop by tomorrow to sign.
Speaking. Okay, two on that one. Is that both of them?
Yep.
How much you got? Oh,
Over.
oh my goodness. Got anything else on there? Your file? You apparently do.
We could discuss this at a later date.
I started to sign
Oh,
your slide.
I'll fill that out.
Does it need a
It is.
trustee signature or just you?
Trustee signature, but I think it's just,
I was thinking, and I know they didn't.
I just never filled it out, so I didn't want to do it wrong.
Uh,
I was just making sure that I had it.
That doesn't really say. I'm gonna sign them below.
I didn't really see where it said like, you have to sign this, so I wasn't 100% sure.
A tiny little chunk of Johnstown.
Tiny. Yep.
Yes, very tiny. This didn't really need a signature. I'm trying to think. We're doing volunteer cleanup, not home cleanup, I don't think. It says it's in tons, the waiver.
You had 12 listed on there, 12 tons.
Well, you could, but that ain't gonna happen.
Down. I don't know.
Last time I recall getting feedback from the collection, it was just a number of bags. And of course, they don't weigh much unless they find something large along the road. I don't know. Think they can put 5 ton.
Sure.
Well, the dump trucks hold 8.
Is that 5 metric tons or imperial tons?
I'm gonna put 8.
Like
Well, wait a minute. Well, they've already got 12 here, so I'm putting that up here.
And then I need this signed, and then you guys can close out the meeting.
Actually, you can put, I don't know whether your contact or Jason's in there, 'cause
Yeah, we'll,
Do
probably
that.
do Jason.
I just put
be
12
your-
because that's what they had down below.
Yeah.
You can have that. Why do I go home with more stuff than I came with?
Lucky, I guess. Don't worry, I go back to my office with more than I come. So we're all just.
There's a company that makes just government forms and materials,
They do.
and they call themselves such.
They do. I met them at the TA.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they're the ones they're the only company that makes the books.
Oh, my.
A monopoly.
Right.
They
Yeah,
also
that's-
make stamps, which I almost want to buy one for myself because I thought it was fancy and cool.
Yes.
They also make like really nice nameplates.
Oh, wait a minute.
They were extra fancy.
I should not do that. I
Oh,
wasn't
no, you
gonna
were here.
cross that out.
It's fun.
If there's no further business, make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I second that.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, meeting adjourned. Ashley? Go ahead, and turn that off. I'm just inquiring. Business mind on